Welcome to yet another episode of the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories, a series of conversations with CXOs and business leaders over chai or coffee, if that's your preference, brought to you by ETH. The urgency and pressure on business leaders as they navigate the COVID-19 pandemic has been immense, to say the least. These business leaders have been constantly monitoring myriad ways to ensure that their respective companies stay on course in the new normal. The incredible demands placed on them makes us often wonder how they have time for family, hobbies, or any downtime at a personal level. And let's not forget that they are mere mortals. This initiative by ETH is aimed at creating a deeper connection with them and to get a sense of what business leaders of several prominent companies do when they are not in business mode. Today, it's my pleasure to host Vijendra Singh, GCC leader, TransUnion. Vijendra, welcome to the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me, Ivan. Pleasure to be here.
It's our pleasure entirely, Vijendra. How are you doing today?
Absolutely wonderful. Having this conversation on a holy day makes it even more special, Ivan.
Absolutely, absolutely. The Festival of Colors. And my gut feel tells me, given the time that we had catching up just before we went live, is that you're a wonderful guy, and I see this being a very, very colorful 20 minutes or so.
Indeed.
So on that note, let me ask you my first question. In fact, not just mine. I think it's going to be a question that our viewers would also want to know. About your growing up years, Vijendra, and any one or two incidents that have shaped what you are today.
Sure, indeed. Thank you for that, Ivan. I think a couple of things, I would want to, call it out. One is few qualities that I have inherited, while growing up. One is, tenacity and hard work. These are two most important qualities that I have imbibed, and they have not come by by chance. I'll give you an example that, I always wanted to get into the IIT. It's our most, important or prestigious exam that we have in India for engineering graduates.
Right.
My father's financial condition, or rather my family's financial condition, was not so good. In spite of that, not having any coaching, not having, a lot of, mediums available for me to, read and understand and get into the, coaching classes and all. I persisted and did a lot of hard work, right? So I kind of, let go 1 year of mine, and I studied a full, year in that, that period, and made sure that, I compete into the IIT JEs and then get, selected into the final prestigious exam. So that whole thing told me that, tenacity is absolutely important. Hard work, there is absolutely no replacement for hard work. And these two qualities I carry even today in my day-to-day, work field. And on top of that, second incident I'll take, which is related to the importance of diversity, right? And how diversity has really seeped into my heart. So again, my father was in a transferable job. He was a bank manager. While growing up, I kind of changed around 10 to 11 schools, right? Before I completed my 12th. So
Really?
Yeah, exactly.
Because he was on a transferable job, or?
Yeah, he was in a transferable job, right? Every year or so, we used to change the school. So class second is done in some part of Uttar Pradesh. In Bareilly, class 3 was in Allahabad, fifth standard was somewhere else. So that way, I understood the importance of diversity, assimilating new cultures, new people. All of that has made me very humble, right? So I think, again, that quality of humbleness I'm carrying forward, which is originated from, changing multiple schools, interacting with a lot of people. So I think these are a couple of things that, on the school, on my, forming years, they have put a lot of impact on me, and I still carry all of these qualities forward.
It's amazing. I mean, just your response to the first question,
I don't have a school friend. Can you believe it? Because I keep on changing.
Correct. But what really caught my attention there was the fact that, the things that we talk about, staying grounded, hard work.
Yeah.
So true, right? I mean, it's an evergreen mantra for anybody, and yet we tend to miss it. So that's really held you in good stead. And you talked about something at the other spectrum, which I've not heard from many speakers that I've interviewed on Cutting Shy Stories, is the subject of diversity. It's kind of become a buzzword in the last few years now in terms of inclusiveness,
Yes.
diversity. But what I'm hearing from you is the education that you've got with the constant travel, relocation, which meant that you were not in a school for more than a year and a half, maximum 10 schools, 11 schools. So those seeds in you that, assimilation into culture and diversity is the order of the day.
I think you spot on, kind of pulled in a very important topic, right? Diversity as we speak is primarily about inclusion of women, LGBT, and a couple of other pieces that we talk about. They're absolutely very important, but diversity of experiences is also equally important, right? In a sense
Yes.
that where you are getting in, what kind of people you are meeting in, all of that is very important to develop your own self and towards getting yourself a little more humble in terms of how you interact with each other.
Wonderful. TransUnion is in great hands. So when it comes to the subject of inclusivity and diversity with you at the helm there. So that's wonderful. Great. Vijendra, a lot has changed since the pandemic. Would you say your leadership style has changed substantially, I beg your pardon, from the pre-COVID days to the post-COVID days?
I won't say that my style has changed. Maybe the modes have changed. Earlier we used to be, getting into offices, interacting with our, colleagues at a face-to-face physical level. Now what we are doing is we are all doing everything, but the modes have changed. Now we are connecting through Zoom. It is online. It is on the other side of the world. We are able to interact and talk to each other. Apart from mode, I don't think a lot has changed. I am again the same old humble person who is able to pick up a phone and talk to my colleague, have a very very personal interaction, right? So I always want to make sure that all the people with whom I'm interacting, I'm able to make a personal connection, right? The moment you make
Yes.
a personal connection, right, inquire about that person, who they are, what they're doing, how their family has been, what is bothering them, all of that important information, that creates the bond, Ivan, right? So my style
Yes.
has always been the same. Modes have changed.
Nice. Nice. Very well put. Uh, what what is the number one aspect that you look at when it comes to a trait in all your employees, Vijendra, when you bring them onto your team?
Okay. Okay. I think you've asked a very, very fantastic question, right? Nowadays, when people hire, talent, they look for, high powering skills, high powering communication, many other pieces which needs to be evaluated. I think all of them are important to an extent, but in my view, I think integrity is at the top. You can, you can garner this skill, you can cultivate the skills, but you cannot cultivate the integrity, right? It is so
Yes.
innate. It is
Yes.
so innate. It is so natural. If you don't have an integrity, I think it's not there for the long run, right? So that's the
Yes.
most important piece I would look into my my associates and my people whom I'm interacting and kind of inducting into the organization.
Yes. May I ask you a follow-up question to this same question?
Please.
Uh, I get your point, and I can see the aspect of integrity which you hold very dear in your life coming through. My question here is, when you have candidates, like you're saying, in front of you, who probably have the same technical skills, like you said, all those factors, whether it's the work X, whether they fit into the CTC that is there for them, all the other aspects, like you said, communication skills, so on and so forth. How are you able to judge integrity when you are communicating with a prospective employee before onboarding him onto your team?
I think there is no definite mechanism for that, right? I think it's a gut feeling that I have developed over a period of time. and that helps me identify the person, whether the person is of a high integrity or not, right? I ask few questions which are
Yes.
basically experience based question, that
Yes.
in this such and such scenario, what would you do? I'll give some more example and try to get an answer from that person, and while getting an answer I kind of judge that person on the integrity side. So that's how I do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no formula. There's no magic pill, that you ask him to take, and you will get, the integrity. Yeah, absolutely right. It's those questions, those experiential questions, those conversations, and you get a feel. You get a feel from the answers, from the body language.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
experience has a lot of value, and it's similar to saying that when you go in front of camera, Ivan, right? you know how are you able to enact so naturally, right?
Right.
It comes naturally. It's innate, right? So
Yes.
it's almost
Yes.
similar to that.
True. True. My next question.
Sure.
Humankind is a species that needs to rely on one another for greater success. And we know that it's collaboration at the end of the day. So even the smallest of contributions sometimes go a long way in making or breaking it. My question to you is, how important do you think teamwork is? And a follow-up to that, if you could take it, is it what makes a team rather thrive?
Okay. I think teamwork is absolutely important, right? Anything and everything that we do, which has a value, which has a meaning, apart from very personal things, right? So there are things which are very personal, right? Like
Yes.
exploring your own self, getting into spirituality, right? All of that is self-driven item, right? Which you can do, by sitting alone, by being in a meditative state, or whatever you want to do, right? So one is that self. Anything apart from that is all collaboration, right? Anything that you do, right, in your life, right? You have to be a household person. You have to interact with your wife, with your kids, right? There is a team out there. In your in your professional life, you will definitely have a team, because one person cannot do the big ticket item that that the overall organization is trying to connect. So in a team, the most important piece that I see is like a jigsaw puzzle, right? Everybody has to know what is the part that they're playing, and
Right.
all of them have to come together, right, to make it complete. So I think it's an absolute must. And what I do from my perspective is I identify the candidates who are good in, say, suppose documentation. So they'll do that documentation related part. If they're good in development, they'll do the development part. So identify people who are good at whatever work that they are doing, and align all of them together to complete the overall work structure. Right?
Wonderful. Wonderful. I love the way this conversation is going. I'm getting a nice little insight into you, which is on the softer side, non-technical side. Thank you so much for that. Uh, Vijendra, what according to you are the most important attributes of successful leaders today?
So this question is very cliche question, right?
Yeah.
I think bringing your full self, bringing your authentic self, right, is of utmost important, right? And you can have you can have a little bit of a low in communication. You can be a little bit low on the technical side. So nobody is perfect 100% in all the traits that are available, right? So you might be good in something, little not so good in some other pieces, right? But you bring all of that back as an authentic self, right? Don't try to hide. Don't try to say that, no, oh, I'm absolute wonderful candidate. I can do this, right? Don't hide behind anything. Just be your authentic self. I think that will solve most of the problem, right? So I think this is the most important thing I would place in terms of the overall leadership qualities that you're asking for.
It makes so much of sense to me. When you look at anything in life, whether it's a product that has a particular brand promise, it could be a washing powder, or it could be a blazer that you're wearing. The authenticity of the communication and the experience after that, if it matches, then you have a winner, and that's when the customer is happy. Anything, like you're saying, in life, you could say that this is the most wonderful drink, and then when you experience it, you don't find that,
Exactly.
you just say, now, What was that communication? Where you feel cheated, right? At the end of the day,
Might work for some time because of the money that you're pushing
money,
in.
the hype, and
Yeah,
everything that's
yeah.
created. But
But
what we
it's a
do
lot.
as human beings and leaders, and what I'm hearing from you is that, and you're right. A lot of leaders, and probably that you might answer that in the next question. I have a follow up to this. Is what you're saying is if you're your authentic self, you don't have to be the best. Nobody, because if you were the best at everything and all the attributes, you would probably be very close to God.
Oh,
Because
indeed.
because
That's
he's
the exact
that's
what
the
I had in my mind. Yes, indeed.
so because when it comes to leaders, some of the team members may not say it upfront that he says one thing, but
Hmm.
the kind of conduct and behavior doesn't echo that. But what I'm hearing you say is that if you have certain shortcomings, just be yourself. People
Indeed.
will say, he's the authentic self, because rather than speak behind your back, and probably you'll not get them to tango with you when you have projects and stuff like that, because you're not your authentic self. It
Indeed.
resonates.
Indeed. It is like, being vulnerable, right? Let your vulnerable self come out, right? People will understand, oh, the leader that I'm seeing is just like me, because
Yes.
everybody is vulnerable. We, as a human being, we all have many qualities. Some are like absolutely brilliant, some of them are not so good, right? If a person says, oh, my leader is just like me, there is an absolute brilliant bond that he or she, connects. Offline, online, that doesn't matter, right? So it's all about, bringing your full self, authentic self, and always think from the intent, which is of a serving others, right? That intent is absolutely important, right? If you're not having an intent of serving others, absolutely difficult to move forward.
Wonderful. So now, as a follow-up question, connected to the previous one, what's the one behavior or trait that you have seen derail most leaders' careers?
Oh, I think, we touched upon this particular piece, which was about integrity, right? I think that's the
Yes,
most important thing, right? So without naming some companies, you might have seen in last 1 or 2 years,
many,
big
many.
organizations have failed because, integrity is not being followed properly, right? They might be very good technology wise, their overall outcome is absolutely brilliant, they might have formed an absolute brilliant team, but people are not holding the integrity at the top, right? Once you do that, everything fizzles out, right? And I think that's the most important thing I would, look for.
You're so right. I must share this with you without taking any names. There was this person who is now in the docks, but when that person taught me financial management in MBA school at SPJ.
Okay.
And when it was in the papers and all over the place, and now the person is arrested, was that the same person? And then, you looked up to somebody, and then it's probably a case, let's see how it pans out, of lack of complete integrity.
My God. We
Lack
have
of
seen
complete integrity.
empires fail because the integrity is missing, right? And it comes from the top, right? The way your leaders will behave, the same will percolate down to the next layer, down to the lowest level where people will see, oh, integrity is the most important thing that our leaders are trying to look for. So they will mold themselves accordingly.
Absolutely. Yeah, a long subject to discuss, because anyway, let's get on. This is your moment, Vijendra. So let me ask you, what is your mantra in life?
Okay, so I was reading a book, Tom Peters, and one of the wonderful person in the professional world. Excellence is in next 5 minutes, right? So we
Okay.
all chase excellence, right? So, but we need to understand that every 5 minutes that you are talking, you are working, you can show excellence, right? So always strive for that. Right? Every 5 minutes, you keep on doing your work with a proper sense, right? While you are eating, make sure that excellence is in your mind. While you're talking, make sure excellence is on top of your mind. So
Yes.
make sure that excellence is next 5 minutes. It make sure that it becomes a journey and not the end point.
Wonderful. Beautiful. What I'm going to do, there's so much that you've shared at this moment. I'm going to use the next 5 minutes or so, with your permission, Vijendra, to ask you a few questions which are
Indeed.
not exactly a rapid fire, but more on the lines of a one word or a one line answer. Again, the idea is to get to know you as a person beyond your designation. So are you ready for this segment?
Oh, I'm excited for that, Ivan.
Okay, good. Okay. So I'll start by asking you whether you have a bucket list, and I'm sure you do. And what are the top three things on that bucket list?
So I think the first and foremost is giving back to society, right? How I'm going to do that,
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm involved in a couple of organizations in terms of giving back. I don't want to name them, but I want to go big on giving back to society. That's on my list.
Okay.
Always wanted to write a book which is primarily on the software engineers, the life that the software engineers go through. So last 20 years have been the years of software in India.
Right.
And while we have seen that there are a lot of goodness that it has brought in, being part of the nitty-gritty, I know that there's a lot of stress in that community, right? How exactly we alleviate that stress? So maybe I would want to write certain experience I have through that book that I'm talking about, and then finding certain methods and modes in terms of creating a high-powered innovation, right? So when we say innovation, it comes as a buzzword, and only few people or maybe very knowledgeable people are supposed to do that work, the innovation, right? Can we really do something where we can democratize the innovation, right? So
Mm.
I'm thinking on that line as well. Can we really do some of that activity as well through some techniques, tools, frameworks? So those are my top three bucket list item, I would say.
Nice. I like the last one also because I've heard this at various forums that, sometimes people think that innovation is the domain of a few.
Indeed,
But it is, I mean, right from somebody who's a street vendor, he's innovating. And what you're saying is, can we democratize that
indeed.
in a broader sense? Very nice. Wonderful. I wish you all the best for
Thank
all
you.
these three items on your bucket list. May I ask you, would your 12-year-old self think you were cool?
I don't think my 12 years thought that I'm cool. I'm still not sure, right? Maybe it's also something that I'm trying to inculcate.
I think
But
you're
yeah,
cool. I
yeah.
think
But
you're
the
cool.
point is, I again go back and say that my authentic self is not that cool, right? That's okay, right?
Yeah, yeah. If you were to change your profession, what would you choose to be apart from the current one?
It would be social service for sure.
Wow.
How and why, I'm not sure, but it comes from the heart, right? And giving back to society. That's what we are supposed to. Life has only one purpose, in my view. It's all about do good work and give back to society, right? There's absolutely no other purpose of all human being in this world.
You've put that wish out into the universe. Don't worry, the universe will
Thank
provide
you.
you with those answers.
Thank you.
If you were to write a book, Vijendra, what would it be about?
So as I told in the earlier question, it's all about improving the life of software people, right? How can we reduce this stress, right? So something on that line. Maybe the title that I have in mind is about Dummy's Guide to Being Happy at the Software Job.
Ah, okay. I've not asked this question to anyone that I've had a conversation with on the Cutting Chai conversations. I'm going to ask this to you. What is one thing you regret spending money on?
I think I would say none. I think everything has a purpose in life, good or bad. It teaches you something. So we don't need to regret anything, right? Take that as an experience, learn from it, and move on, right? That also reduces the stress to a very, very great extent, right? Otherwise,
Sure,
what we do is we cultivate that thing and keep it in our heart, and that becomes suffering, right?
sure, sure. Vijendra, what is your favorite board game?
I think off late I have started playing chess. I
Ah,
would say maybe at this point in time that's my favorite. uh, so I love to play chess with my 8-year-old daughter, and I get defeated every time. So I'm still learning the tricks. I will.
wonderful, wonderful. Choose one of the following: city life or village life.
Village life.
Okay. Uh, Save or spend.
I would say spend.
Okay. Chai and biscuit or coffee and muffin.
Chai and biscuit.
Okay, that's wonderful. Uh, Three apps you use the most.
I think I don't use mobile phone a lot, but if at all I have to say, maybe a couple of financial apps that I have. YouTube is something which I go in there. And of late, I have started using a very, very personalized, healthcare app. Those are like three important things I keep on.
Okay, wonderful. I think I know the answer, your answer to the next one. Let's see what you say. Would you rather fulfill your biggest wish or resolve your biggest regret?
So wish, the first one.
I know. I knew that. Yeah, yeah. If you were to be stuck in a room for 24 hours, whom would you choose to be stuck with? I'll give you three options. Kindly choose one. MS Dhoni, Warren Buffett, or Deepak Chopra?
Very difficult one, right? Because want to move forward in the money space, then you have to choose Warren Buffett, right? That
Right.
money you can utilize to serve others, right? So maybe I'll choose a little bit of Warren Buffett. Dhoni, I know, such an humble leader, right? A lot of leadership qualities, maybe a little bit of a Dhoni. And Deepak Chopra, I think, who would not want to understand himself better, right? So I think I'll try to, maybe have a little bit of all three.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I like the way you answered that. You don't necessarily have to choose one. Take a little bit from everyone, and you have a great personality, some great personality traits from each of them. Wonderful. If you were a kitchen appliance, Vijendra, which one would you be and why?
I think maybe it's very, very interesting question, right? Maybe a blender, because I'll try to stir myself and make sure that I'm able to pull out makhan or something else, right? Or maybe blend people together, something like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Even your previous answer was actually a blend of all three personalities. Yeah, yeah. So it's very consistent. Very nice. If your name were a logo, what would its tagline be?
Stay humble, stay strong, right?
Nice. Don't shy away from that. It's a very powerful tagline. You said stay humble, stay strong, right? I think that's a fantastic tagline. Well done. What is a quality or trait that you admire most in people, Vijendra?
I think integrity, as I told, right, is the most important thing, right? No negotiation on that.
So, final two questions.
Indeed.
If you had your own talk show, whom would you invite as your first guest?
I think I'll invite you, Ivan. Why not, right?
Please. No.
It's all about trying to know each other, right? So anybody and everybody, as a human being, we are all equal, right? Some might have done a little bit higher, some might have a little bit lower, right? But the experiences that people have, right, we all can learn from them, right?
Yes.
So I don't need to look forward to a Bollywood star or somebody to invite on my talk show, right? Rather invite people with whom you can learn a lot.
Okay. Thank you. You made my day. Thank you so much. You also made my month, my week, and my month. Thank you. Last question in this segment. Life is incomplete without
family, I would say.
Nice. Well, Vijendra, I had a fantastic 25 minutes or so with you. I really, honestly, I didn't expect this to be so enriching. And I'm talking about myself here. So I'm really grateful to you for being very candid, for being very honest, and for all the answers to the questions that I posed to you. Some are a little tricky, but I think you dealt with them with aplomb. Before I conclude, you remind me, as a leader, you remind me of these following quotes. And the first one is, success isn't just about what you accomplish in your life, it's about what you inspire others to do. And I think you encapsulate that very well. And I would urge you to stay strong to that and carry on good work. And the second one, we had a lot of questions on teams, teamworks, leadership. And this quote, I don't know who the author is of this quote, but I'll read it out nonetheless. It says, there's a misconception about teamwork. Teamwork is the ability to have different thoughts about things, It's the ability to argue and stand up and say out loud and strong what you feel. But in the end, it's also about the ability to have the grace to adjust to what is best for the team.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And for me, you espouse that as a leader. I see you leading your team in this manner and saying, yes, let's have everything. But at the end of the day, even if your opinion is not taken on board, don't take it personally. This is what is best for the team. Let's go for it. And with you being your authentic and honest self, I think your team will follow you and give everything to you. Vijendra Singh, thank you so much for your time. I had a wonderful time, like I said before, having this cutting chai conversation with you. I wish you, TransUnion, and your family the very best going forward.
Thank you so much for that, Ivan. It was pleasure talking to you. I learned a lot in terms of how exactly put forward the question, how you evoke the answers, right? That's also an art, right? So I appreciate that. My pleasure talking to you, Ivan.
Thank you.